Hello, welcome to the continuation of one of my lore and live streams. I wanted to have a discussion, especially considering the new release of, the Elden Ring Nightreign release specifically, and I'm curious to see what other people feel about it, or if you don't have any particular feelings, and talk about the possible lore connections to the game. Alright, so without further delay, let's get to Wandering Lands Between, and also just seeing in general how the game, well, I personally have not played through, well, I've played through all of the DLC. I've played through most of the base game, and I try to do the majority of the quests. So I don't know that we're going to do a lot of NPC quests in this one. However, I just wanted to give people the general idea of where I'm coming from, more or less. And also, yeah, alright, train of thought.
What is it? The map indicates where the gateway is hidden. It will lead you to Garank, the beast clergyman.
Oh, speaking of that, I did start that quest. I don't know that I really did a whole heck of a lot. I also am trying something that I haven't done in a while, which is not use the HUD. So I don't know how well this is gonna work. Especially with spells, because I'm going to have to remember what order I put these in. Anyway, quick background. As far as the announcement for Nightreign goes, since it seems to be a Fortnite-ish spinoff, and doesn't have, as far as I know, like a specific tie to the base from how would I say it? There was an interview with the director of Nightreign, who is not Miyazaki. Miyazaki actually handed over the reins to a different person. now I'm going to kick myself for not remembering the name. I believe it's actually in the description of the video. I linked the article specifically so people could go look at it. Junya Ishizaki apparently was the director for the majority of the game, and actually was in charge of the team, etc.
Well,
so
I took you for no matter it's out your arm.
Hello, Hugh. So at least my initial impressions on Nightreign before I attempt to go and beat up a bunch of things. Oh geez, I completely forgot I'm doing this without the HUD is gonna be interesting. And this is the problem when you forget to upgrade all of your stuff. Alright.
Back already?
Nope.
No matter. Lay out your arms.
Don't worry, I won't bother you too much, Hugh. So, last time I ended up talking about the Shadowlands and how the location of the Divine Towers are generally around the middle of the landmass that is missing, and that's the suppressing pillar may have to do something to do with that. I'm assuming Nightreign is also it seems like it's also playing off of that theme. However, the only tie, as far as we know, to the base game is the Shattering War. The split in whatever timeline is going on is just the Shattering War. So I am going to at least try. We're gonna try Radon, I think. Oh, did I not help Blythe? I guess I haven't. Let's go help Blythe. That's always a fun fight. Although this is, for reference, this is New Game Plus 1, or New Game Plus, and so I am actually probably a little more over-leveled. Than I would be. So I'm sure that Moog will give me trouble while trying to get into the DLC, but hopefully Margit will not, or not Margit. Wow, I'm great at this. Geez, me not remembering how these work. Not what I meant to do. Want to say hi to the doggo.
Who goes there? Carly sent you, did he? Ever the bloody busybody. Maybe to him you don't seem so strange. The name's Blythe. I'm looking for a man who goes by Darrowell. He fled somewhere nearby. Or so I've heard. Come tell me if you find him before I do. I can offer you ample reward.
Alright, friend. So, I did ironically hear someone call the DLC 3 Nights at Ronnie's, which I thought was an absolutely hilarious moniker for that. Lore-wise, I think in one of Vati's videos he put it the best in that the lore itself of the game is fairly open to time and temporal nonsense. I mean, we have Farah Missoula, and if the Nameless King is appearing in Nightreign, which seems to be the case, then perhaps speculation about Elden Ring being the painted world that the painter paints in Dark Souls 3 has some merit. I think it might. It's been a theory that I've found interesting for a very long time. And something that I honestly hope we get a little bit more of. I know that they want to keep the new title separate, at least in some capacity, because that's been stated. I'm assuming they're doing that so they can actually work on other titles, or work on a new title, since Miyazaki doesn't seem to be working on this project. So, as a result, one of the things that I do like about summons especially is I liked that...
Rotting in a cell is no true justice. No. This is where it ends for you.
I just like the interactions between these characters, and I wish I had gotten more to choose the characters for more fights, simply to see their interactions. Sort of the way that the DLC did, and the way that Nightreign seems to be doing multiplayer. I'm not sure. They said you can do it single player. It says it on the website. But yes, for anyone who has not played Elden Ring, yes, I prefer big armor, big sword, and big shields. Because why not? And that is why we like big sword. Also a note for anyone who's never played Elden Ring on New Game Plus, you sort of trample over the early game from what I've seen, and then later on end up getting into trouble with how difficult the game can be.
Right. There you are. Had to work for it, but it's done. Don't say I'm not a man of my word. Here's your prize.
Okay, we'll take free smithing stones for upgrading weapons anyway.
Oh yes. I should say, if you venture north to Rea Lucaria and come across a venerable blacksmith who's a little on the large side, tell him I sent you, and he'll be sure to treat you right. I owe you one, I reckon.
Alright, this is the part where I probably skip several of the quests. Because I want to do the DLC, which I've played through I think at least twice now. But the first fight that is needed for entering the DLC, and generally the easier one, is Radahn. At least I think it's the easier one, because you have the option to summon more allies. And again, that's, I feel like, possibly part of the reasoning behind making a separate, game with the ability to party summon is also partially simply because a lot of people do, there are lots of people that seem to just look down on summons. I think they're fun. I think they're a good way to get people into the game. Honestly, if you people consider them easy mode, I honestly do not. I consider summons just an option. I like that you can do NPC summons in Elden Ring because I like particularly learning more about the characters and you can get more lore from character interactions and conversations. So me, personally, I think they're fine. I've played through the game with and without summons. It's not something that... Honestly, if you are using buffs, I have found that buffs are... You can cheese your way through many more bosses with buffs than you can with summons. At least that's how I generally feel about how the game goes.
Champions, welcome.
Welcome to the Radahn Festival.
Stars have aligned. The festival is nigh. General Radahn, mightiest demigod of the Shattering, awaits you. Champions, prepare for battle. Defeat the general, claim glory, and grab that great rune. A celebration of war. The Radahn Festival!
I would also like to say, while I feel like a lot of people got upset that Radahn was one of the spoilers for the end of the DLC, for those who wish to mute, Radahn being one of the last bosses in the DLC, I feel like honestly, maybe Nightreign is a response to some of the people being upset with bosses and is a way for FromSoft to offer more upgraded, harder bosses for a lot of people who seem to do challenge runs or boss runs, which isn't exactly what I am doing here, but is sort of.
Long time. Seems we're fated to keep crossing paths. Now, we find ourselves at a festival of combat, pitted against Radahn, once the strongest of the demigods. The way ahead is pleasingly simple. A path forged by sword and fang. Nothing to do but wait until the festival begins.
I always have to check in with Blythe and Alexander, as they are two of my favorite characters. Hello, Jar Warrior.
Ah, if it isn't a tarnished warrior. I am the warrior Jar, Iron Fist Alexander. The pleasure is mine. Do you know for whom this festival is being held? Well, it is none other than General Radahn himself. To think, I could face a great champion of the Shattering, a demigod in the flesh. Oh, gosh. In truth, I quiver at the thought. Such is his frightful repute. But the fear simply assures me the ordeal is worth undertaking. Be sure to get a good vantage, my friend. I, Iron Fist Alexander, do hereby vow to unflinchingly brave this ordeal.
I love Alexander. But this is another thing where the Shattering War between the demigods that ended up leaving Radahn an absolute sickened mess because of Melania's Scarlet Rot, and Melania, the undefeated swordswoman of the demigods, exhausted and too tired to return to her home on her own, and carried by one of her loyal soldiers, Finlay, who was definitely just a roommate. We'll get the relative story
Are you good
here.
and prepared, young chum? The festival begins. But now, we must make merry. O gathering of champions! The revels begin! The celebration of war! The Radahn Festival!
Now let's see if I... Oh, that's right. I am turning off the HUD just to see if I can actually manage to do this without. And if I remember all of my controls. Which is not necessarily likely, but might lead to some hilarity. I feel like what most people generally paint Radahn as a lovable Chad. I think they forget that he was a warmonger and I mean, it's specified this is a celebration of war. The festival itself is a celebration of things Radon held in high repute, and war was one of them, as he idolized one of the earlier Elden Lords, Godfrey. So in his idolizing of Godfrey, I don't think it's necessarily completely fair to overlook any of the things the demigods did in the Shattering War, and also important to keep them in mind for the DLC, or not DLC, for the new game coming up, as the Shattering War seems to be where the timeline is diverging. But we're just going to go and see how well we do this fight without the HUD. Well, there's dodge 1. Dodge 2. Amazing that I managed that. Nope. There's one more. Well, I just find it fun to summon for this fight. Okay, good. We've gotten close enough that we have hit fight time. Oh dear. Ah. Well, I missed the meteor, so that's an insta-kill. Stake of America. I love that the Stakes of America let you come back but not do necessary armor or... Well, they don't let you edit your spells or other things. It's good to know that they made this fight a little bit harder with the, with New Game Plus. This would be easier if I could see my health bar, but we're gonna try this again. And we're gonna get hit immediately. Go me. And immediately again. Oh good, I did manage to use the terrain. The lovely thing about this fight is it really does feel like you are doing a full party summon. And I absolutely love that you get to run up and fight him like this. And that the coward Patches runs away the absolute first time he can. Oh, did we get him to jump already? Oh boy. There we go. Oh, hello, Rodon. Please, I just want to summon some friends. It's all good, I promise. Oh, boy. Ah, second try, Radon. No HUD. That's always good. Also, this place is beautiful. Ah, now we get to see the part of Ronnie's quest, as I did not actually start Ronnie's quest, I don't believe. So Ronnie, one of the other demigods, I kind of hope we actually do get some tie to her. It doesn't look like there's going to be. I wish the DLC itself had a little bit more ties to the base game or consequences. With the way that you get to interact with the characters in this game, which I am currently trying to find one of them. Not Blythe. There we go. Hello, Alexander.
Ah, hello there. It was a battle marvelously fought. You are well and truly a champion, friend. I, on the other hand, am nothing but a crock. One hit was all it took to crack me, and for my insides to come spilling out. After that, I hid like a coward.
Oh, lies. You were here the whole fight.
I can hardly stand to face one such as you. But don't you think I've given up just yet. As luck would have it, there's a veritable mountain of warriors' bodies right here. If I can just squeeze this bunch down inside me, I'll be a mighty warrior again in no time. And you know, the bodies found here are exceedingly fine. Who could expect any less from the very warriors who fought in the Shattering? The greatest of all wars. Just you wait and see, friend. I'll grow even stronger. Just you wait when next we meet.
I love you, Alex. That is creepy, though. The jars in the base game I also particularly like that they, it is specified that they are animated by a combination of the fallen warriors, and I like that a little bit more than the horrible jar rituals in the DLC. Where they are people forcibly stuffed into jars with a, what is said to be a shaman used to bind them. Instead, we're going to we're going to focus on having a little bit more fun, hopefully.
What a sick way to fight, eh, mate? The glory of the clash is shared by Radahn and you, and then a falling star, right before our eyes. I can't fathom how Radahn was holding back something of that scale. He was a living legend, if ever I saw one. Well, it's time I left. The wheel of fate has been set into motion. If it's on the cards, I'd be glad to meet again. You are a fine warrior.
A jar is only as strong as the warriors inside it, I guess. That is fair. Honestly, I like that they added the detail when you get if you kill Alexander before you get to the end of his quest, the jar shard you get from him is not nearly as powerful, but if you kill him at the end of his quest, it's actually specifically stated that there are red hairs in the jar shard, which would allude to him having absorbed Radon himself, which makes the talisman you get from him stronger, and the abilities the ability on the talisman stronger, which ludonarratively I find is great for gameplay and is usually something that is wonderfully reinforced in almost all FromSoft games and titles from what I've heard. I have only played Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree and a tiny bit of the intro to Dark Souls. I have absolutely I have listened to absolutely all of the lore for all of the games that I could possibly get. I usually do Alexander's quest at least once through all of the characters I've had. I have 3 characters I'm playing, 2 on PC and 1 on PlayStation. So my I forgot how long it takes me to level up at this level. I guess I could take strength back down to 60, but I'm kind of hoping to get strength up to 80. Yes, for those looking at my stats, I am a strength faith build, and yes, I put random other things in other stats. I'm not terribly organized with how I do my stats. I'm bad at it. I'm just bad at it. Oh, I suppose I should go get the Grace for the War Dead Catacombs, because that will be a good place to maybe get some levels later when I come back. But the War Dead Catacombs, actually, this is a good thing to mention about the Shattering Wars. This area was part of the clash between Radon and Malenia's forces during the Shattering. The note on the Shattering War, I'm wondering how much they're going to pull from the Shattering War going into Nightreign, because Nightreign is supposed to be where only diverges where the Shattering War began, and not it does not start from your current timeline in Elden Ring. For instance, how the DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, starts just from me having to find the entrance to this is a terrible thing. The interesting part in where the timelines diverge and start is neat. I know that a lot of people are not terribly happy with Nightreign because it seems like a Fortnite-y kind of game, which is not what a lot of people like about a Souls-like. I a little bit wish they had done a different Souls series game with the option of a full party Souls game, or 3 to 5 player Souls game if you wanted. I feel like that would have allowed them to make it. It seems like they're going to try to make a lot of the bosses very hard in this, but I feel like if you allowed for a 3 to 5 party game, like in the fight with Radahn, you could very easily summon a bunch of people to help you out, or in the end decide to oh, let's see. What talismans do I have? Do I have the Ritual Shield and Ritual Sword talisman? Because that would be good going into... I do. Alright, I have both of those. I also generally, on my first playthrough of any Souls game, try to complete all of the NPC quests without killing them. I mean, spoilers, everybody dies at the end, except for one, except for Bach. And I guess Raya, as long as, if you complete her quest fully. However, I personally don't like killing Souls characters through their first quest. I prefer to do the quest all the way through. And then second playthrough, do whatever I feel like going into this. Which is why I am probably going to kill Millicent this playthrough, but I can't do that until I complete a certain amount of her quest. For those who don't know, this is Millicent. She'll fight with you for a while.
Well enough, it might be possible for me to wield a sword again. Perhaps then I can aid you in battle. If the arm... It might be perhaps...
You can... Millicent is related to Melania, and as such, has a lot of interesting lore tied to her. Again, I'm kind of sad we didn't get a prime Melania fight in the DLC. I think if FromSoft wanted to put in some really hard bosses, they kind of missed the chance there to throw in both two what they could have made very hard bosses towards the end of the fight, or towards the end of the DLC. Melania being, honestly, at least for me, Melania was the hardest boss in the base game. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. I can't speak for everybody. But let's get rid of this guy if we can. Hello. Oh, don't. No, come back here, please. Gotta love those criticals. Now I don't have to deal with you at night anymore. I also find it interesting that you get Margit in Nightreign, which makes a lot of sense. How do you say? Getting Margit in Nightreign to me makes a lot of sense story-wise, because within the Shattering War, the Fell Omen consistently made several appearances in order to, I suppose, protect Leyndell and the Elden Throne. And so I am happy we get more Margit. I am hoping with the ever-changing bosses we maybe get more Melania, as absolutely ridiculous as that boss fight might be. You may legitimately need 3 people just to take her down. Fighting a solo Prime Radon could be very interesting. Oh, hello, Corin.
Ah, look who we have here. How delightful to meet a familiar face, even after departing the Round Table Hold. I've been doing some learning of my own since then, actually, and will happily pass it along to you. I'm yet to find the noble Gold Mask. I suppose he'll be closer to the Erd Tree. The path ahead might be perilous, but tread it I shall. Since departing the Round Table Hold, I've come to understand, in my solitude, how little it is I truly know. May the Golden Order shine through you.
Yeah, because FromSoft does not give us a ton to go on sometimes, so you're not alone, Corin. I do kind of hope that I hope that the tie-in from Elden Ring to Nightreign is the Painted World. I really do hope we get the because it seems like we have the Firekeeper from Dark Souls. It seems like we have several of the Dark Souls bosses in the DLC, and as well as new bosses. I'm wondering if this is honestly just FromSoft's excuse to throw a ton of bosses at us, which I wouldn't mind. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I find it interesting that a Round Table Hold is still... In the DLC trailer, it almost looked like the Round Table Hold was burnt, so maybe... Or maybe older, so maybe this is the Round Table Hold in Leyndell, or at least the Round Table Hold during the Shattering War and not during the... and not during the time that we're in right now. I also find it interesting that you do still have a spirit that seems to be usable in the DLC. The fact that it's a bird reminds me of Legend of Zelda a bit, but I don't think that was the influence of it. If anything, I feel like the influence may have been more the Divine Bird Warriors from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, but that's just me. Hello, Gold Mask. I can go back and tell Corin about you later. I am mostly here for the grace. But, can I drop down here? I don't know that I can make that drop. I do like that they're doing some more mobility. I'm a little biased. I feel like having started with Elden Ring, I didn't have to do as much running around, but the world is also much open and much bigger. So having Torrent... Oh, Dominula. Windmill Village, one of my other favorite, locations for lore. But my hope for, like I said, I think for the DLC and for a lot of things is that I will have to play Dark Souls 3 again because I feel like there's going to be a lot of tie-in, especially with the bosses that they've shown. There's a lot of running around, which I feel like does expose you to a lot more enemies. In Elden Ring, I think maybe Nightreign is a way to give people kind of that boss rush mechanic without the running around that you have in Elden Ring. Oh dear. Creepy old lady's not very happy with me. At least I don't seem to have been followed. Oh! Okay, rude. That's not great. Oh, that was probably too much. I wonder if we'll get more of the Godskin apostles. I am kind of hoping that they do drop a little bit of strange lore in the DLC. Not entirely sure that they will. I am interested in You're right, Enrique. I cannot pronounce your name, and I am sorry. I think I accidentally tried to do a bad French pronunciation. Alright, I am sorry, Millicent, but, Henry, okay.
Why are you doing this? No one forced my hand.
I apologize.
I did not imagine it ending like this. But I will not forget what you have done.
I have actually never done that before, because I don't like to kill NPCs. It's alright, people can't pronounce my last name very well. The one consolation of that is it upsets Gowry, who is the person who was using Millicent, and I am not particularly fond of him. The Millicent prosthesis should also help not only attacks, but my casting time, since it adds dexterity. Although before I fight Moog, I feel like I should deal with some of the other bosses. Oh, can I get to Moog? Did I forget to... complete the quest so that I think I may have forgotten to complete the quest to get the yeah, I don't have the Pure Blood's Knight's Medal, it seems, so I forgot the quest to get to Milg, which is the other boss I need to beat to get into the DLC. Let's see, where do I have to go for that? Writhe-Blood Ruins is part of it, yes. I am interested in Nightreign as a standalone. I am kind of hoping that they do allow you to kind of challenge a bunch of bosses, or maybe even some of the super bosses in a greater capacity, especially since you are going to have teammates, and they do give the option to play alone, which I'm assuming the AI is some of the FromSoft AIs seem to do a lot better. Finlay seems to last longer than most. The Mimic tier Spirit Ash summon is not generally known for their intelligence, but if you equip them well, it seems to be fine. There's the summon sign I was looking for. Oh. Ah, jeez. I honestly do not want to have to do this. All I really want to do is get this invasion over with. I am also glad that they gave you the option to do a lot of offline things in Elden Ring. I find some of the phantoms a little... well, I did that one pretty poorly. Ah, jeez. Oh, Destined Death, how much I love you. I do hope they include a little bit of the DLC, or not DLC, a little bit more of the lore of the Shattering War, since that's supposed to be the time period. I'm honestly wondering if when you enter the DLC it will mostly, or when you enter Nightreign it will mostly be the crew that you're supposed to have a choice of characters. I'm wondering if that's supposed to be some of the original Round Table Hold members, outside of, I think, the two that we know from the Volcano Manor questline that you fight in the Round Table Hold. Because for the Volcano Manor questline, you go up against a lot of the older Tarnished, from my understanding, and the two that you actually end up fighting in the Round Table Holds are some of the original members, was as far as I know. I would actually have to look at the armor set, which I have. So I technically could just look at... which armor set was it? Raging Wolf set, which I'm fairly certain I have. Yeah, Raging Wolf armor set, worn by Valgrim the Raging Wolf, one of the first Tarnished to visit the Round Table Hold. Yeah, so I'm wondering if that's how one of the ways they tie it in, since it's the Shattering War.
Oh, Lambkin, so pleased you're here. I'm glad that you're enjoying my gift. I knew it from the very start. You have a taste for noble blood. I wish to anoint you a proper inductee. A knight to serve Luminary Moog, the Lord of Blood, and establish a new dynasty. Luminary Moog has strength, vision, and of course, love. So, what do you say, my lambkin? Yes. Who would have it any other way? Now, take this for your final trial. Soak the cloth with a maiden's blood. Normally, this ritual would involve killing one's own maiden and recanting the wisdom of the two fingers. But since you are maidenless, the blood of anyone's maiden will do.
Vare is extremely creepy and I absolutely hate him, but this is the fastest way to get to Moog, which is the fastest way to get into the DLC. And yes, Henry, you're right, it is absolutely a pyramid scheme. I mean, that's what cults are. Cults, the cult of, you know, the horrible blood god is not gonna be particularly friendly. Oh, I'm not going to have a madness meter. This is gonna be bad. Oh no. Our question is, can I get up this tower without absolutely losing it? Destined Death, thank you so much. I mean, yes, the Blood Cult is a complete... It's a pyramid scheme. It is a... All cults are basically... have basically the same setup. They are solely there to just prop up the person running it, and that is their only objective. They don't particularly care about those under them. Honestly, the fact that Vare I don't know. The fact that Vare comes across the way that he does seems to me personally to be pretty... I don't know that it's technically misogynist. A lot of Elden Ring is actually not particularly gendered. There are definitely themes of women not having as much agency, of religious persecution, especially with the DLC coming out, of persecution against ability and even just height. The vulgar militia particularly are an example of this. They are literally considered lesser because they are shorter beings. That is actually in their armor set. It is particularly strange to me, but that is a thing that happens in real life, and Elden Ring is very good at mirroring that. Having a DLC that is completely separate from some of that, and not necessarily having to deal with as many themes. Let's take this outside, Vike, please. Oh, and themes of madness and just suffering. Oh yeah, running over the early game with this. Let's just really quickly lay down, or sit down at the grace here. I think there are more obvious, particularly with America being not a final boss, which I always found weird about this game, that there are some themes of misogyny in the game. I think the game does it subtly, as it does with most of its themes. And it's a, hey, this is bad. This is an example of how the system will legitimately just disenfranchise anyone or anything based upon the smallest little ideals. The Tarnished, for example, your character is legitimately considered a persecuted minority, where you have to run in fear of the Knight's Cavalry, and you end up persecuted and consistently talked down to by absolutely everyone. I think it speaks to possibly Moog's original intentions, that when you meet Ansbach, one of his former purebred blood knights, not Vare, who I think is an absolute dick, that you get some respect out of him, and I feel like that may speak to Moog's initial intentions with the pureblood knights. However, with the way that the Formless Mother's lore works, I feel like that's kind of a doomed from the start, almost. Oh geez, I don't actually want all of you following me around while I talk to the creeper.
Ah, my lambkin. You've completed your final trial. And with this, you are a formal inductee. A knight who will assist Luminary Moog, the Lord of Blood, in the establishment of a new dynasty. Now, give me your finger. This noble blood will be an immutable badge of honor once it settles inside of you.
Not that this isn't horribly creepy, but alright.
Oh, good heavens. Clench your teeth or something. never forget that feeling of agony, for it is what binds you to Luminary Moog, to all of us. You have the sweetest scream, my lambkin.
You have the sketchiest voice,
Oh,
Vare.
another thing. You should have this. A medal granted by the new Moguin dynasty, with the power to grant audience with Luminary Moog. I've gone out of my way to provide one to you. But you mustn't use it just yet. The meeting must wait until the Moguin dynasty commences. Luminary Moog yet slumbers beside the divinity. We must endure a little longer.
Now, my favorite part of this quest. Staring back at Vari and literally just using the medal in front of him. I love doing that every time. I hate doing Vare's quest. Also, this is not to shame anybody who likes any of the characters, Vare or Moog. I think all of them are interesting and complex. And I feel like anyone who, in particular... Oh, wait, let me get through all the blood zombies. And the blood slime, which I hate. Alright, there you are. At least the warp here gives you some runes. Oh dear. And some glove ward. I am not dealing with that right now, though. Well, that's right. I can fight Vare. I wonder if I got all of his gear last time. Let's sit down and de-aggro the priest. I like that if you sit down, you can de-aggro. But yeah, blood cult bad. I feel weird having to say that. I feel like that should be pretty common, assertion. Blood cult, not good. I was pretty sure I had Vare's outfit. That's the Godskins. I think it's the War Surgeon set as Vare's. The War Surgeon set also gives you a decent amount of lore on them, and basically states, you know, these were... There weren't so much surgeons as, let me stop the pain by removing you from existence, I guess. I guess maybe I didn't. I I find that odd. I do find that odd. I was fairly certain I had his armor. Don't really want to have to spend the time to go get it, though. Oh, also, let's switch back to Finlay for my summon. I also find it fun to fight Moog with a clean rot knight, considering Mikola, but at the same time I know that the lore is a little different now. I wonder if with the purifies Lord of Blood's curse when mixed in physic, purifying crystal tear, yep. I'll use that for the Moog fight. I probably won't need to. Anyway, yes, Moog being Lord of Blood and reached out to by the Formless Mother, an outer god that seems to crave wounds, and the fact that the Omen are consistently viewed as, oh boy. I am honestly just here for the, oh, right. Can't summon Torrent here. I completely forgot about that. I just really quickly wanted to get the smithing stone from this area so that I could use it later. I should realistically get to the DLC. This is taking me much longer than I wanted it to. Alright, let's see how the Moog fight goes.
Dearest Mikola, you must abide alone a while. Welcome, honored guest, to the birthplace of our dynasty.
Let's hope I remember where all my buttons are. Oh boy. Really? To die, please. He just does not want to stand still, does he? Alright, Moog. Ah, shit. Oh no.
Nicola is mine and mine alone.
Well, that was a decent attempt, I feel like, at Moog without the HUD. Maybe we'll try Black Knife Tish. I also like, especially if I'm doing the Ronnie ending, using Black Knife Tish, as you find her in the Everjail in one of Ronnie's specific area. Let's use a rune arc and see if this helps. It seems like they're going to have a bunch of new mechanics in the DLC that just not DLC. Wow, I keep saying DLC and it is definitely not. It's supposed to be its own standalone, I guess. That was flattened. Okay, well, second try Moog with no HUD is, I feel like I'm accomplished with that, at least, considering I've never played with no HUD. Starting to remember where most of my flasks are. Oh, and thankfully that netted me a lot of runes. Good. At the very least, dexterity is going up. So is faith, because that helps me scale the holy attacks on the weapon. I wish you could access your runes while you were sitting at a grace. That would be nice. Anyway, brief recap, or I don't know if anyone who's listening doesn't know the lore between Moog. Moog was one of America, the Eternal's children, the god of this world who created the Erd Tree. The game is particularly clear that Moog and Morgott as omens were eventually, although we don't know how eventually because the timeline seems much longer than all of us initially anticipated. And would not honestly be terribly surprised if we ended up with some more. I was hoping for a America boss fight at the end of the game. I mean, I had a lot of fun with the Radigan boss fight, but Moog, as one of America's cursed children, was banished to the sewer, and then as a result eventually came in contact with an outer god called the Formless Mother, and in doing so, created his own, what he would consider his own dynasty, which is not the best. He is not the only one to recruit Tarnished to hunt down other Tarnished, but I find it particularly it makes sense that as far as power structures go, you would want to end up on top of a power structure where initially you had no power to begin with. Moog is a very good example of that, in going against the power structure but creating a just as harmful power structure. Morgott, his twin, having the same omen curse and creating a similarly just upholding the status quo is also very typical of an example of how oppressed individuals might perpetuate a system that is harmful to them. Good. Last runes going into the DLC. Now we get to start the fun part.
Were you guided here by kindly Miquella? I am Leda. And like you, I was guided by faith along his honorable path. Touch the withered arm, and you too will be transported to the realm of shadow where Miquella the Kind now dwells. My compatriots are there already. Like us, they have heard kindly Miquella's call. If you can find them, they are certain to lend you aid.
Oh, okay, thank you. I do hope you play the DLC. It is a lot of fun. I will save you the walkout. I will wait. But thanks, Henry, for stopping by. And if you do want to come by again, I probably will do other runs where I finish the remainder of the game and not just hop directly into the DLC. Since I'm doing lore mostly, or at least trying to. This was mostly I wanted to get to talk about Nightreign with a few people, or at least put out some thoughts about it. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a good day. This first look out onto Gravesite Plain has got to be one of my favorites. This I feel a little less worried about because it is in the trailer, so it's not terribly a spoiler. But that first look at the rest of the world is honestly one of my favorites. From here, I actually am going to take a quick break because it's been a bit and I need to regroup, and I will be right back. Thank you for people listening in. Probably gonna take about 10 minutes. I hope to see some of you back here when I do come back. Alright, bye. Hello again. Alright, we are back with the DLC this time, as we've just beaten Moog and Radon, and now I'm going to see how interesting the DLC is on New Game Plus with Shadow Tree level 20 and 10 Revered Spirit Ash. I gathered these in the first game playthrough. So I can't entirely edit them, but oh, and I just realized I should have Godric's rune active. I think I have the rune arc going. Which is fine. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Golden Horn Tender boosts rune acquisition for a time. The lore behind this is interesting because it also, between the horn scent and the lore behind them, it says once bestowed upon inquisitors as an honor, and I always found a lot of that unnerving, particularly because the Silverhorn Tender also indicates some disparity between the horn scent by class structure. The Silverhorn Tenders, these trinkets were once symbolic of the society's upper echelons, so there is some distinction between lower class, upper class, and the Inquisitors and Church, which it reminds me a lot of the real world, I guess, Inquisitions. I feel like the parallels, obviously, between Elden Ring and a lot of Christian symbology and the church is pretty apparent. And how a theocratic state is, not the best. Yes, Horn to be wild. Thank you. Thank you, Alexander. Also, thank you, Alexander Sparf in chat, who gave me is allowing me to use the wonderful music for the break screen as well as for the ending screen. I don't have your music on the intro screen. I have something else for that for right now, but he has wonderful music. Go check out his channel. I beg of you to put up some of the rest of this music soon. We're gonna test how we're gonna. Even horns can't escape the burden of class. Oh, I missed that first one. And Elden Ring, let's go. Got it. God damn it. Gods damn it. Outer gods damn it. Alright. We're gonna try the Black Jail Knight because I want to see how badly the DLC on New Game Plus is going to kick my butt. Oh dear. Whoops, I fucked that up. Oh, that's right. And I can't see my health for those who just joined because I am using the because I'm using no HUD. Okay, he is 100% kicking my ass. I'm just gonna attempt to do the... Oh no! Ah! Please don't let that be a kill. Nope. Oh my god. Yes! Okay. DLC not as terrible as I thought it was going to be without the HUD, but this is also one of the weakest enemies, so I guess we'll see. And I got a double set of this armor. Oh, and these eels really remind me of... So in Japan a while ago, they had a bunch of people FaceTime eels during 2020 because they became too shy because they weren't used to people and the scientists couldn't study them. These eels were looked like the ones that are in Shadow of the Erd Tree. They hide in the dirt, and a lot of underworld and death lore in most cultures is tied to the sea. So I think that it's really interesting that they included these eels that may or may not have been inspired by the FaceTime eels from the pandemic, from 2020 pandemic times. We're not gonna worry about the Ashes of War. Alright. I'm pretty sure I killed all the golems in my last playthrough, so I don't exactly want to bother with them. The furnace golems are also a horrifying... The fact that they literally hit you over the head with absolutely how horrifying Mesmer's crusade, or the crusade of the I want to say Golden Order, but at that point I don't know whether it was the Golden Order because the Golden Order came about in the time of Radigan, and I think the DLC leader of this Mesmer is Marika's child, the god slash ruler of the Lands Between, and also considering Mesmer was locked in the Lands of Shadow, I think it was a while after. I don't remember exactly, but currently the Lands of Shadow are locked off from Lands Between. I'm assuming in Nightreign, obviously, since it's a completely separate kind of storyline, it won't be the same. Nightreign being the next Elden Ring title coming out, probably so that they can, or hopefully so that they are working on it. Miyazaki can free up time to work on a new title because he's not the director for Nightreign. But there's Elden Ring and the Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is the DLC that takes place parallel to the actual game.
Ah, Lady Leda spoke of you. You're that tarnished. Guided here by kindly Mikola. won't we all? I am Freya. I once fought alongside General Radahn. In battle, you can be sure I'll hold my own. Oh, another thing. Did you speak to our dour little friend? If you've yet to do so, have him give you a map of the Cross's whereabouts. You'll find more of them dotted about these lands. They are Mikola the Kind's footprints.
Mikola being one other of Marika's children, one of the younger, who seeks to change the order via, hopefully tearing down the old order, but not in the same way that most might think.
Fie, another. Treading the heels of Mikola. Then, as that woman would surely say, we are in our purposes well aligned. But understand, your kind are not forgiven. The Earth Tree is my people's enemy. By Marika long betrayed. Set aflame. I believe Mikola's apologies when he says our delivery will come, but never will I see your kind as worthy. And yet my oath I cannot overlook. If Mikola it is whom you would seek, then comrade, allow me to give you this. These are the sites of the crosses I found. I urge you, follow after Mikola. As long as you abide by his footfalls, you will be no enemy to me.
This being the first Mikola cross I can usually find, carved words coalesce, I abandon here the first of the flesh of my body. Kind of horrible that Mikola generally is literally discarding pieces of himself in order to ascend to godhood and create a new order that hopefully is a kinder one. There obviously is more complications than that, as this is a FromSoft game, and narratively nothing is ever that simple. But it says something about the fact that you have to discard pieces of yourself in order to ascend the power structure in a game. Oh, chaotic wholesome, who's rude? There are lots of rude people in this game, but sometimes the rude ones are not necessarily the most dangerous. Carved words coalesce, I abandon here, a part of the flesh of my body. That continues for a bit. Another thing that is interesting, an item that also helps tell the story that you find at each of these cross, is Empyrean Blood Burgeon. Mikola is an Empyrean, which makes him a candidate for godhood. It says a young shoot heavy with Empyrean blood, exceedingly rare to find, said to burgeon forth from where the golden blood of Mikola, the wounded Empyrean, pooled.
You must be the Tarnished. I am Ansbach. Formerly in service to Lord Moog, but now, like you, another soul guided by kindly Mikola. I'm hardly the steady hand I once was. My fighting days are far behind me, which is why I have chosen to dedicate myself to investigation, to discern tender Mikola's ultimate purpose. I'd rather not volunteer service to a new master unless I know that I can be of use. May I request a service of you? 6 crosses identical to this one have been discovered in these lands. They are akin to tender Mikola's footprints, or gravestones, which mark what he's left behind. If you discover any more crosses, be certain to tell me. I presume you, too, are keen to know just what kind Mikola is doing here.
Yeah, I definitely didn't just kill your boss to get access to the DLC, it's fine.
Hello there. Together, we work. Together, for Mikola the Kind. Many things we have found. I like finding things. For you, Lady Leda, her allies, and the Forager brute. Things bring joy to all.
Moore is possibly one of the nicer NPCs that I like very much. Suppose first we'll go through, or at least go into Belarad. But I feel like a lot of people, especially considering how Ansbach treats you, the NPC, place more trust in him than maybe needed. Something interesting about his gear, which I have because I've completed at least one cycle of this game, is that, if I can find it, because I'm not sure I remember where it went. Good job, brain. There we go. Wise Man's Mask. The iron mask of Sir Ansbach, giving the appearance of a quiet, wise, old, bearded man. But an old fear lurks beneath, together with the cold, unflinching discipline that once honed his blade and now employed to enhance blood oath and dynastic skills. Considering that Ansbach was part of Mohg's blood cult, at least at the beginning, I feel like more people seem to see him as an unbiased figure. Despite the fact that alright, scorpion spiders. I completely forgot that they're in this area. I apologize. Spoilers. There are scorpion and spider enemies. They look more like scorpions, but they are not always, Oh, yes, they're not great fun. Generally try to get rid of them as quickly as I can. Once I get past this open area, I should be able to get to a grace which will, great, which will allow me to avoid having to go through that area again. Now I should be able to teleport here without having to worry about having to run through there again. Now let's see how much of the tower settlement. I will try to give warnings for when I know if certain enemies are coming up. Sometimes different enemies are interspersed, so it's not always something I am aware of. Oh jeez, I forgot about you. best technique in any game, if all else fails, run through the enemies to try to find the next checkpoint. Yep, I can't get through there yet. Oh. Normally I would... Alright. I'm probably going to do a little bit less of the story this time, although I am going to try to bring up some of the major themes of the DLC when I can. This one in particular, I feel like Bellarat Settlement illustrates some of the disparity between the Hornsent. A lot of the shadow people seem to be Hornsent ghosts, which, I mean, I guess take from that what you will. It's not... Oh no, I teleported to the wrong one. There we go. Between the different types of gold and silver horn tenders and some of the lore later in the game, it's pretty clear that a class disparity between the Hornsent especially did exist and also was part of, and that even Hornsent seemed to be used in ritual sacrifices, which is, you know, kind of horrible. Generally, it was people outside of their particular culture. This is fairly open knowledge for Elden Ring in general, but Marika, the, I guess, god queen of the lands between her people were ritualistically offed by the Hornsents and used for horrible purposes, such as weird alchemical rituals, and stuffed into jars, which is not great. And a lot of these warriors and other things had to do with her people's oppression. And so when she got the chance to claim godhood and hit back against the Hornsent, she kind of took it and took it too far, as is the case with a lot of I mean, politically speaking, that's, I mean, world speaking in general, that's a thing that legitimately happens and is something, I mean, when people are oppressed and don't necessarily, I think the saying is, if education isn't liberating, then the oppressed can only dream of becoming the oppressors, which is a fair assumption, I believe. It definitely seems to be a theme in this game in particular, and is something that I personally, games like this and a lot of FromSoft games, I think that some people's issue with the Nightreign game is it seems to me more a Fortnite boss rush adaptation of Elden Ring as opposed to a full new story and new game, which honestly I'm fine with having just an addendum game that is just a fun multiplayer. That doesn't mean we're not going to get any more information about Elden Ring out of it, especially considering the timeline. More scorpions. I really, really wish I didn't have to deal with these. Oh, shoot. I almost got away from this enemy. The fly people are another interesting thing. There seems to be a heck of a lot of cursing going back and forth between several of the if you go to some of the villages around here, you will find them. And in general, they have it seems to be some type of curse. Who cursed them is somewhat up for debate. I need to look at this cross. Carved words coalesce here. I abandon here my arms sinistral. Yeah, Mikola dumping pieces of himself to gain power, like literal physical pieces, is an unnerving and absolutely scathing commentary on I feel like the way systems of power affect even those at the top of the system, Mikola being a demigod child of Queen Marika. And Radigan, but we're not going to go into that one for right now. I hate these things. Hate these things so much. Oh, shoot. Especially considering Mikola has to dump his feminine other half, which I feel like is definitely a gender commentary, similar to the way that Marika is treated, and you don't end up fighting her, you end up fighting her masculine other half, which oh, I don't know where any of these guys are. Again, I feel like is another commentary on how the power structure generally treats even feminine individuals and gender non-conforming individuals in a power structure where they have some power and abilities. Oh no. Nope. No, no, no. We're just gonna run. I'm not dealing with this. Well, that's fine. At least I have the grace. This is why you run through for most of these types of games. Also, the graces, considering that the graces, or the history of America becoming a god seems to be her gaining some power from the outer god known as the Greater Will. I feel like there's a good chance that the graces are hers at this point, and hers alone, since we find out in this DLC from a later NPC that you that the Greater Will seems to be no longer communicating, and I find that interesting because originally it was thought that that happened around the Shattering War. The implication in the DLC is that happened earlier, so the god of this world is being I guess usurped in some way. It's hard to tell, especially with the way that the timeline is never specified, and actually, particularly in Elden Ring, there are places out of time, which is how I think the DLC is also being treated. Alright, we are going to try for the Dancing Lion. We're doing fairly well so far with what level we have.
O horn-decked beast from higher sphere delivered, take root inside the tower's sculpted keepers, and perched within, we beg of thee, rise. Dance and cavort, cleanse all that thou wilt. Cruelty, woe, and those who plague the tower. Cleanse away the strumpet's vile progeny.
went better than I thought it would. And the dancing lion drops the divine beast head. It's pretty clear in the lore that the sculpted keepers are the dancers, and it was specified. Actually, let's quickly level up. Or not, because I don't have enough, dear gods. There we go, inventory, divine beast head, ritual headwear in the form of a divine beast's head used to perform the lion dance. Worn by the very finest of the sculpted keepers, alas it is no longer, responds to the old woman's earnest prayer. Divine invocation heightens intensity of the storms alongside strength and dexterity, but reduces the restorative effects of drinking the flask of sacred tears. Which makes sense, the flasks of sacred tears that you have for magic and healing you get at the beginning of the base game, and they are generally inscribed with the Erd Tree symbols. So Flask of Crimson Tears is a sacred flask modeled after a golden holy chalice that was once graced by a tear of blessing. The one washed up on the gravesite was sure to die until this flask offered its gift of rejuvenation to seek the Elden Ring. That would be you at the beginning of the game. But it's fairly well known that in the lore, with the Hornsent and them being prejudiced against individuals that lacked elements of the crucible, those being horns, feathers, or scales, persecuted both America's people, the shamans, and even other Hornsent that lacked some of those qualities. And the tower where Mikola is going to become a god in order to try to put to rights the crusade that America eventually had against the Hornsent is here, the Tower of Shadow. And the ghost says, "O tower of ours, hidden in shadow, lofty spiral piercing the heavens, lead him safely unto greater godhood. And in divinity grant our salvation." And as per usual Elden Ring fashion, sealed and obscured by shadow and thorns block your way. Tower of Shadow message. Message left by Needle Knight Letta, the person who first brings you into the DLC and one of Mikola's Needle Knights. Addressed to kindred spirits who also pursue Mikola's trail. The gate of divinity lies in the tower sealed by shadow. It is surely where kind Mikola is headed. We are no Empyreans, but we must locate the path that will lead us there. I will follow the cross's east. There's more to deal with in Ballarat settlement, but for now, in honor of avoiding any more of those spider scorpions, I will head outside. In Elden Ring, there tends to be a lot of body horror and other not so savory horror elements. Not, I feel like, as much as Bloodborne, but the DLC definitely added more of it.
Righteous Tarnished. What brings you here?
Speak of the cross in the tower.
I'm much obliged. As suspected, kindly Mikola has visited the lands which hold the tower, and appears intent on wholly dispossessing himself of his flesh. He must be seeking entrance to the Tower of Shadow. Righteous Tarnished. What brings you here? Oh, you must mean Samor. Samor is a kind and stalwart ally. He provisions our little outfit. Samor traffics with the Forager brood, his brethren, who collect supplies from all corners of the land. No doubt they find inspiration in his many virtues. These are not your foes, Tarnished. Should you spot any Forager brood, be sure to mind your manners.
It's interesting because the Forager brood, for those who played the base game, are Kindred of Rot. Kindred of Rot being beings, insectile beings with many legs that sprouted up after Melania was born, I believe, because Melania is the goddess of Rot, or at least an avatar, because the outer gods generally influence the demigods and several of their powers. Melania's being rot and decay, Miquella's being eternal youth, which is interesting as that seems to be a life and death dichotomy with twins. Miquella and Melania are both twins. And considering the twin Empyreans, it's interesting that Miquella, in order to divest himself of his abilities, power, and it seems to be his curse of youth, needs to go to the land of shadow, as such the land where all death washes up. Excuse me while I try not to die here. And all of the statues in Land of Shadow, if you notice, the Marika statues are beheaded. Whereas if you find the Marika statues in churches and the lands between, they are not. Let's see if we can meet a couple more of the NPCs. I think the last NPC in Miquella's band of misfits is down this way. But a lot of the soldiers you're running into being Mesmer soldiers, it's hard not to liken. They have inquisitions on both sides, both the Horn sent initially, and then Mesmer's own inquisition for the Erd Tree after, probably many years after, because Marika was at least mildly friendly, it seems, with the Horn sent. Hence, Hornsend and both one of the other characters referring to her as betraying them. Meaning, at the very least, she was neutral at some point.
Oh, hello there. Are you the Tarnished? Lady Leda spoke of you. Another Tarnished, guided here by Miquella the Kind. My name is Teolia. I too am Tarnished, and here on kindly Miquella's account. So, well, here's to new beginnings, I suppose. I'm sorry, but well, I'm not much good at anything is all. I'm as weak as a kitten and thick as two planks. I've always been this way, since the very day I was born. I'm afraid the only thing I'm proficient in is poison. Sorry.
Oh, Teolia. I'm not necessarily the happiest with how Teolia was presented, although he does seem to be an example of one of the tarnished characters that are disabled, or at least were born disabled. Let's see, Mikla's cross. I abandoned here part of the flesh of my body. Alright. Those seem to be the relatively normal crosses. Let's see if we can get up to the suppressing pillar, because that'll be a decent place to possibly end off with the lore around that. I would like to talk about it beforehand, but I'm not sure whether I should or whether I should simply wait until we manage to get there. I also like that there are these things seem to show up wherever there is more reference to death in the game. Oh, Egon, I apologize. I will come and help you at a later point. I guess one thing I do appreciate about the DLC is they have the enemies drop more crafting materials. Here we are, the suppressing pillar. The very center of the lands between, all manner of death washes up here, only to be suppressed. Which makes sense, considering Marika's reign started with the removal of the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring, and the Elden Ring being the embodiment of the metaphysical laws of the world. And an actual physical thing. Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. I very much so appreciate the extra crafting materials. Those dragons also have an interesting lore, and definitely will probably be another tie-in. Hopefully we get at least a little bit more dragon lore in Nightreign, but I think for now I will call it here because I've been on for a while and I think it would be good to let this be the ending spot at the suppressing pillar and the center of the lands between. Thank you very much for watching, and to those who came by to discuss Nightreign and share your opinions. I will hopefully do something that's more of a formal lore video the next time, but I just wanted to have something that was a little bit more open, considering the recent announcement, and I hope to see you or read you in the next game. Thank you, and safe travels, everyone.